Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday. Last time I checked, it was like 2 degrees outside. This morning, when I went out to the gym, it was -1. When I left the gym, it was -2. And so we've had a pretty warm week up here. So I am Dr. Jeff Evenson. I'm a board certified doctor of holistic health. Okay. I am not a medical doctor. I do not practice medicine. I don't pretend to. Instead, I help people get their health back through natural means without drugs or surgery. I do that through coaching, muscle testing, applied kinesiology techniques, quantum nutrition testing, nutrition response testing, um, whole food supplements, uh, homeopathic tinctures, herbs, some carbon-based technology, humic and fulvic acids, all kinds of stuff. Um, and it's things that I can use. They're all tools to help a person get their health back, and it works really well. That's how I became a holistic practitioner. And most holistic practitioners have this in their story. I call it the origin story of the holistic practitioner. What is their origin story? What got them into holistic care, wanting to help, wanting to work with others to discover what I found? That's what I want, to help people remember who they are in good health. And because a person did that for me way back in 2007, 2008 is when I had my first interaction with holistic care. And never did I think at that time that the impact that it had on my life when I really got my health back, that I would go down the road of learning how to do that and ultimately become a board certified doctor of holistic health. So I've been practicing almost 17 years doing this work. And folks, I love it. It's my passion, especially when I can sit across from people and just see the lights come back on in their body's energy and their health, and what motivates them, and what is making them go every day. And I think when I use the phrase help people remember, I think people, when, at least this was for me, when my health got, it just year after year after year just keeps pushing you down and down and down. And I kind of forgot who I was in that experience. And so when I got my health back, it's like, oh yeah, I'm Jeff. Okay. And so it's quite a thing to be a part of, I think. Now, I'm going to turn on the comments. I'd love to invite you to post a comment, say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from, kind of thing, if you're able to do that. If you're driving, of course, don't do that. Grab your coffee. I put the show together today on wearable biometrics. Okay, we talk about the biometrics, and I'm going to tell you, I've got one right here, one device right here. This one is probably my favorite. Okay, and we're going to talk about this one too. I'm not going to sell you on any, tell you which one is best. I'll just tell you what my favorites are. But the Oura Ring is what I showed you. This is Oura Ring version 4. And we'll talk about what it tracks. And we all know that these devices, and I also wear a Garmin watch. Okay, so yes, I have 2 devices that I wear tracking my biometrics, because I can use that data to tell me what I'm doing right and maybe what I'm doing wrong or need to improve and all that kind of stuff. And then in my bathroom, I have a foot scale, or a scale that you stand on, of course, that also tracks biometrics, and it's but that one is looking at things like your body fat and visceral fat and all kinds of other things. But it occurred to me when I look at some of this information, how many people have this data available to them, and perhaps they may not even know what it is they're looking at. It's like, great, I have all this data, but what is it? What am I looking at? Okay, so we're going to talk about some of that. And I've got my show notes here, and we'll go through it. And I'll try to share some pictures. It's so the show is going to be a little different because I don't normally talk about technology too much, and so I'm not sure how the flow is going to go with this. But bear with me. We'll get through it. Uh, and if you have any questions as we go through, put them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them up by the end of the show. Or I can get if I don't know during the show, I'll tell you, and I'll post it in the remarks later. But so grab your coffee and let's dive in. Today I call it. I want to talk about something fascinating, okay, and a little dangerous, and incredibly powerful if we understand it correctly. Okay, we are living in the first moment in human history where ordinary people can measure their biology in real time. Okay, not in a lab, not in a hospital, not hooked up to wires, on their finger, on their wrist, on their phone. We can wake up and see a number that claims to tell us how well we slept. And trust me, that's a number I look at every day for myself. And maybe I think I'll get into it a little bit later. But we're looking at a score that says how ready we are for the day. And then a graph that claims to know our stress, a trend line predicting whether we're getting sick. That's extraordinary when you think about all this stuff. We've got all of this data right here. But here's the problem with that. Okay? Most people are collecting the data without understanding the language their body is speaking. They're staring at numbers like they're a report card. Good score? I'm healthy. Bad score? I'm failing. And that is not what these devices are telling you. They're not judging you. They're translating you. Your heart rhythm, your nervous system, your recovery capacity, your resilience. They're showing you patterns your body has been whispering for years. And for the first time, you can see the whisper. That's the gift. Okay? But it's also the trap. Because if you don't understand what the signals mean, the data becomes anxiety instead of clarity. People start chasing scores instead of chasing healing. They try to hack numbers instead of restoring systems. They obsess over metrics instead of listening to their body. And what I want to do today is pull the curtain back. We're going to walk through the core biometrics these devices track, not as tech features, but as biological stories. Okay? What is your nervous system doing? What is your immune system signaling? What is your recovery capacity doing? What is your sleep actually repairing? Okay? And most importantly, what do you do with that information? Because data alone doesn't change health. Interpretation changes behavior, and behavior changes physiology. And physiology changes your life. So these devices are not magic rings, they are mirrors. They reflect the state of your internal environment. And if you know how to read that reflection, you stop guessing. You stop chasing symptoms. You start working with your body instead of fighting it. That's where real health begins. So today we're decoding the numbers, not to make you dependent on a gadget, but to make you fluent in your own biology. Okay? We're going to start with my favorite one. Let's start with the foundation of everything, sleep. And if you're just joining the show, throw in the comments where you're watching from. We have Janae Pop from McGregor, Minnesota. That's actually north of where I'm physically located for my practice. It's not too far, maybe less than an hour. All right. Now, here's why sleep is my favorite metric to measure, because for the last, 4 or 5 months, my sleep, I'm going to just say it, my sleep has been shit. The dominant feature of my sleep has been shit. Okay. I was getting little to no deep sleep and constantly figuring out what the what I needed to do to improve that, aside from making sure I get to bed at the same time every day, get up at the same time every day, put good structure in. I've gone through the phase of putting up darkening curtains in my bedroom. I have no TV or anything like that in my bedroom. In fact, my bedroom is pretty stripped bare. I think I talked about it on the show last week. It's pretty stripped bare of electronics because of the electronic magnetic frequencies, the EMFs that were impacting my sleep. I wear a hat that's lined, it's got a silver mesh lining in it that helps block electronic frequencies from coming in. And I'm doing all the things, and I'm looking at my sleep number coming through my Oura Ring, and things really started to jump up. Hey, Darla, good morning. Darla's down in Wisconsin. So I would look at this, and my deep sleep was it when I started wearing the hat. My sleep improved a little bit better than it had been all summer in a long time, really. And it's like, okay, I'm onto something here. Um, and when you can sleep better in terms of the deep sleep, my mental clarity was coming back stronger, and each day was getting easier to get through. But there was still something missing, and I think I finally picked up on it this past week. And it has to do with the food that I was eating. Okay. But since I shifted my diet, my trainer, I'm working with a fitness trainer. And when I started working with him, I was largely eating a carnivore diet. Okay. Because I discovered long ago that my sweet spot for feeling good was always eating mostly meat. Okay. Um, but he felt with the type of training that he was going to be putting me through, with the strength training and the cardio, that it'd be essential I put carbs back into my diet. So I followed his direction, put the carbs back in, and my my food metrics, everything, my sleep numbers, it's all been crap. And so last week he and I had a good heart to heart, one-on-one conversation. And he goes, Jeff, I'm gonna I'm putting you back where you started, largely eating carnivore. And he gave me a very specific sequence to eat. And let me tell you, since I shifted taken most of the carbs out of my diet, my sleep has been incredible this week. Wow, incredible. Okay. And so it's just a testament again to the food that you're feeding your body, and everybody is different. Okay. And I'm hoping that my trainer will recognize, and I believe he does know this. Everybody's different. Um, it may take some time to figure out just the right balance and combination for a person. Okay. So let's dive into the sleep here. You heard my story enough, but we'll start with the metric that almost everyone looks at first, and that's sleep. Okay. Not because it's trendy. All right. Not because devices made it popular, but because sleep is the single most misunderstood pillar of health in our culture, in modern culture. We treat sleep like it's an optional downtime, like a pause button, like something we squeeze in after the important parts of life are done. But biologically, sleep is not passive. Sleep is an active repair state. When you fall asleep, your body doesn't shut down, it goes to work. Hormones shift, the brain detoxifies, tissues rebuild, the immune system recalibrates, memories consolidate. That's your hard drive defragging. Inflammation is regulated. Sleep is when your body runs maintenance. And wearable devices are trying to measure how well that maintenance cycle is happening, not just how long you were in bed, how effective your recovery was. And that's a huge difference. Most people still think sleep equals hours. I got 8 hours, I'm fine. But sleep quality and sleep architecture matter more than raw time. These devices break sleep into stages because each stage has a job. Light sleep is the transition state, it's the doorway. Deep sleep is physical repair. And so this week, I have gotten more deep sleep since I made the shift in my diet than I have uh, over the whole summer. I've, it's remarkable, and I'm using the Oura Ring to tell me how much deep sleep I got, and I'm starting to see that if I get less than 30 minutes of deep sleep, I my day is going to require me to push through a little bit harder. There were times before I shifted my program that I would have 1 minute of deep sleep or zero, and those days were just exhausting for me. So it can be an indicator. Um, Deep sleep is physical repair. That's where growth hormone surges. That's where muscles rebuild. That's where cellular healing accelerates. Okay. Now, the next category is REM sleep. It's neurological repair. So in REM, your brain, your nervous system, your brain is going under repair. That's emotional processing, memory integration, brain recalibration. So if deep sleep is body repair, REM, which stands for rapid eye movement, REM is mind repair. Okay. And when people are inflamed, toxic, stressed, overworked, or nutritionally depleted, those stages fragment. And I'm a testament to that. I know this because I've been tracking my stats. They may be in bed, you might be in bed for 8 hours and wake up exhausted. Not because you didn't sleep, but because you didn't repair. That's the key distinction. Wearables aren't grading your effort, they're showing you the efficiency of your recovery. So a poor sleep score is not a failure, it's a signal. It's your body saying, hey, last night wasn't enough to keep up. And when that pattern repeats, that's when chronic symptoms begin creeping in. Fatigue, brain fog, hormonal instability, immune weakness, weight resistance, mood volatility. Again, it's not because you're broken, because your repair window is compromised. Okay? So, because it's so cold out, my dog wants in, so I got to go let Louie in. I'll be right back. Thank you for that Louis break. During the summer, he doesn't usually do that, but in the winter, he'll ask to be let in. So, and here's where people understand this technology. Okay, they try to force the score up. Supplements, sleep hacks, medications, tracking rituals. Okay, optimizing bedtime like a performance sport. But sleep is not something that you dominate. Sleep is something you allow. It reflects your nervous system state. You cannot out hack a stressed nervous system. You restore sleep by restoring the environment the body feels safe enough to repair in. And that means blood sugar stability, inflammation control, stress regulation, detox capacity, nutrient sufficiency, emotional load. Folks, if you're stressed out all day long and don't resolve this stress, it can definitely affect your sleep. 2 weeks ago, when I had the freeze out in my shop, um, until I had a solution in place, the first night I didn't sleep well because I was stressed about what else could go wrong if I didn't hurry up and get the repair crew in there. Okay. But the next day, I got a solution in place, had a plan of action, and that night I slept great. Okay. So that's a recent example I'm going to give you. I always try to give you an example, but sleep sleep is downstream of everything else. Okay, it's why it's such a powerful biometric. It exposes the hidden load your body is carrying, and when you look at your sleep data correctly, the question is not how do I fix my sleep score. The question is what is interfering with my body's ability to repair. That shift changes everything. Okay. Because now you're not chasing numbers, you're investigating root cause. And that's where these devices become tools instead of toys. They stop being performance trackers and start becoming early warning systems. Sleep is the first foundation. If repair is compromised, every other metric starts wobbling. Which brings us to the next signal that your body broadcasts overnight, your nervous system balance. And that is reflected in heart rate variability. And the HRV, the heart rate variability, that's actually the one metric that I was looking at. I understand what HRV is because I used to measure it early on in my practice with clients coming in. And I looked at that and I started asking the question, do people really understand what this is? Okay. So even putting this presentation together, I even got more clarity for myself to understand how this is helping you. Okay. If you're just joining the show, please say hi in the chat or in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. All right. So heart HRV, it's the nervous system barometer. Okay. And I remember when I first started wearing the Oura Ring, the number was very low in terms of HRV tracking. It was incredibly low. And I always thought that was like, God, there's something going on. And there was. So if sleep tells you how well your body repaired, heart rate variability tells you how well your nervous system is adapting to life. Okay. And this is one of the most important biometrics that modern devices track because it reveals something you cannot feel directly. And that's your internal stress load, not just emotional stress, but it can be biological stress, inflammatory stress, metabolic stress, immune stress, neurological stress. HRV is not your heart rate. That's the first misconception. It's the variation in time between heartbeats. Okay. And that's fascinating to me. And that variation is controlled by your autonomic nervous system. And the system that decides, your autonomic nervous system is the system that decides whether you are in fight or flight or rest and repair. And that's your sympathetic or parasympathetic. Survival mode or healing mode. This is what you have to understand. A healthy nervous system is flexible. Okay. It can ramp up when needed and come back down efficiently. That flexibility is called resilience. And HRV is a measurement of that resilience. So higher HRV is a measurement. Higher HRV does not mean you're superhuman. It means that your system can adapt. Lower HRV doesn't mean failure. It means that your system is under load. So something is demanding resources, something is draining recovery. And the body is prioritizing survival over restoration. It will do that. And that's the part that people miss. HRV is not judging performance, it's revealing allocation, where your energy is being spent. So when HRV trends downward over time, it often reflects chronic inflammation, poor sleep architecture, gut stress, toxic burdens, overtraining, emotional overload, blood sugar instability, hidden infections, hormonal strain. It's one of those things, your body is fighting battles that you may not consciously notice yet. And this is why HRV is such an early warning system. Symptoms show up late, but HRV shifts early. You might still feel fine, but your nervous system is already compensating, already tightening, already conserving. It's like watching the fuel gauge drop before the engine sputters. And here's the crucial teaching moment. You cannot bully your HRV upward. You don't grind your way to recovery. Instead, you create conditions that allow recovery. And most of us don't want to create those conditions. We want to force that change. We want to just be stubborn and in spite of our bodies, just keep pushing forward and keep pushing stuff at it instead of just taking a step back and going, you know what? I might actually need to give my body some time and recovery. You create conditions that allow recovery. You're going to look at your breathing patterns, your nervous system regulation, inflammation control, proper nutrition, adequate minerals, digestive efficiency, emotional decompression. And folks, this one, here it comes, real rest. HRV improves when the body feels safe enough to expand again. That's the language of it. Expansion versus contraction. When the nervous system contracts long enough, people normalize stress. They think, this is just adulthood. This is just getting older. I did a post on that earlier in this week because I'm getting tired of people telling me, well, I feel this way because I'm just getting older. I'm 60 years old and I'm going to throw that card out and throw a flag on the play right away and say, bullshit. You're not getting older. You're getting fucking lazy. You're not taking the time to turn things around. You're not willing to look at what it's going to take to recover that body. And I apologize if I came across pretty harsh on that. but I've seen it enough. I've seen enough people over the years, over 17 years. Yeah, I'm just getting old. Bullshit. You forgot. You forgot what it takes to stay healthy. Okay. This is normal. And another one, this is normal fatigue. No, bullshit. Okay. The biometric story says otherwise. It says the system is overloaded. And if you listen early, you're going to prevent collapse later. This is where wearable technology becomes incredibly powerful, not because it replaces your intuition, but because it confirms what the body has been signaling quietly. It gives you objective feedback about invisible stress. And when you combine that feedback with real root cause work, which I do here in my practice with people, you can stop reacting to symptoms and you can start managing capacity. And health becomes proactive instead of reactive. That's the shift. So, which brings us to another signal that pairs directly with HRV, one that shows how hard your body is working even when you think you're resting, and that's the resting heart rate. All right, folks, if you're just popping in, make sure you comment in where you're watching. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Now, before we get into the resting heart rate, I wanted to have an aside here. I want to pause for a minute and talk about the devices themselves, okay? I got to make this print a little bit bigger. I can't see it. Because when you talk about the metrics, the biometrics that are getting measured, it's almost, you always get the question, well, which one is best? Okay, well, I'm not here to tell you which one is best because they all have different strengths. The real answer is they're measuring many of the same signals, okay, but they're emphasizing different priorities. So I want to make sure you understand it's not about brand loyalty, it's about what story each device is trying to tell. And I've got three of them I'm going to talk about, probably the three most common ones that are out there. One is the Oura Ring, which you see on my finger. Um, the story that the Oura Ring focuses on is recovery first. Okay. It's built around recovery and nervous system insight. It's less about workouts with the Oura Ring, and it's more about, it's more about what happens when you're not exercising. Okay. The core focus of the Oura Ring is sleep architecture, HRV trends, resting heart rate, temperature deviation, and readiness scoring. And I thought that temperature deviation was pretty cool because this was a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I looked at the app and it was telling me that my temperature was running higher during the night than it normally does. And sure enough, it was soon after that I started not feeling so well. And then readiness scoring. Okay. The strengths of the Oura Ring, of course, is excellent sleep tracking. I wear this thing 24/7. It's very strong consistency with the HRV. It picks up the subtle temperature trends, and it's easy to wear. It's comfortable to wear. I'm currently wearing it on my index finger, but the version I had before this, I was wearing over on my right hand on my ring finger, and I think I like it better over there. I'll have to wait till version 5 comes out to put it back. And then minimal distraction. There's no screen. It's just on your hand. Okay. It syncs with your phone. The limitations, it's not a performance training device. Okay. It's going to give you, it has limited workout analytics and there's no live exercise display. Okay. So in simple terms, the Oura is a recovery microscope and it's for people who want to understand internal stress and repair. Now, the Garmin, okay, which I wear this right here, the Garmin watch. This one is the Phoenix Pro model. This one, the story it focuses on is performance first. Okay. Garmin, they're built around athletic performance and training load. I like it because I can put it on track when I'm out hiking. I can track when I'm out, especially during the summer, when I'm out kayaking or rowing or canoeing. It tracks any type, tracks when I'm out golfing, tracks all your steps. It monitors your performance, uh, regardless, I think, of what type of exercise it is. I could wear it if I'm swimming laps in a pool. Okay. But it does track. It's built around athletic performance and training load, but they still track recovery, um, but through the performance lens. Okay, the core focus with the Garmin device is training stress, the VO2 max estimates, heart rate zones, which I like that. It tells you there's 5 zones for how much time you spend in each zone. Um, Body battery score, sleep and HRV status, and workout analytics. Okay. The strengths for this device is deep exercise metrics, as I was telling you. It has GPS precision. So it knows I can use it as a navigation. It's got a compass on it. Training load management and fitness progression tracking. Okay. The limits are, it's bulkier for sleepwear. I do sleep with my watch on just because I'm tracking metrics because I keep trying to understand this whole world of wearable biometrics. But the sleep tracking is less refined than the Oura Ring. Okay, it's more athlete oriented than lifestyle oriented. So if you're trying to be physically active, and you don't have to have a Garmin device, this is probably the higher end because I am so physically active outside. They have other devices that you can wear just when you're in the gym or something, or when you go for a run, you know, or you want something to track your steps every day. Okay, there's other smaller devices that you can buy from them. But the Garmin asks, how hard can you push? And the Aura Ring asks, how well did you recover? Both are valid, but different philosophy. Okay. And then the third one is the Fitbit. That's a lifestyle balance. That's the story focus, lifestyle balance for Fitbit. Fitbit charge devices sit in the middle, kind of between the two. They're built for general wellness and habit awareness. The core focus is steps and activity, sleep scoring, heart rate tracking, stress management, daily readiness, calorie burn estimates. The strengths now with the Fitbit is beginner friendly, good lifestyle tracking. It's an affordable entry point and it gives you habit awareness. Okay. The limitations are it's less precision on the HRV analysis. You get fewer deep recovery insights and simpler interpretation layer. So Fitbit is about behavior awareness, movement, sleep, and routine, and it's kind of a gateway device for people entering biometric tracking. So the real comparison, all three are measuring variations of the same biological signals: the sleep, heart rhythm, movement, stress load, recovery patterns. And the difference here is on its emphasis. The Aura is emphasizing internal recovery. Garmin is emphasizing external performance. Fitbit is emphasizing lifestyle habits. None of them heal you. Okay. They reveal trends. And the best device is the one that supports the conversation that you want to have with your body. So if you're chasing performance, go Garmin. If you're chasing recovery clarity, go Aura. And I'm chasing both. If you're building health awareness, Fitbit. The tool matters less than the interpretation, and that's the part that most people skip. Okay. Hopefully you got something out of that. Throw in the comments which one um, I just looked at the comments. Darla, comment on there if I can post that on the screen, and I'll share it with everybody. Can I show that on the screen? It's already in the comments, so it'll show up when it gets posted. So Darla, she says she repeated my harsh statement, and I hear my husband comment from the other room. Tell him I am going to go and see him. Okay, I love that. Um, I really love that because I believe sometimes when I'm doing my show, I will say something that somebody needs to hear. And sometimes I don't even realize it's coming out of my mouth, and the words left my mouth before I can catch them back. Um, but yeah, sometimes it's all about it's time to shit or get off the pot. All right. Um, all right. Janae is saying she uses Apple Watch and her sleep number bed for tracking. That's awesome. I've heard the sleep number does all that. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, there's so much. There's so many tools out there that we can use. And I used to use the Apple Watch, but with the type of I live up well, as you know, Janae, I live not that far from you, um, out here in the woods, and I kept and with the day to day work I have on my homestead, sometimes it wasn't. I didn't feel it was as rugged as I needed it to be. I was worried more about damaging the watch than I was about using it. So I went back to the Garmin watch. It fits my lifestyle a little bit better. But I did love the Apple Watch. But I didn't want to afford both. So, all right. So the resting heart rate is where we left off. We talked about the HRV, heart rate variability, looking at your nervous system. The resting heart rate, this is the hidden workload. Okay. If HRV tells you how adaptable your nervous system is, resting heart rate tells you how hard your body is working behind the scenes. And most people misunderstand this metric because they treat it like a fitness badge. Lower equals good, higher equals bad. Okay, that's too simple. Resting heart rate is not a morality score, it's a workload indicator. And it reflects how much effort your body is spending just to maintain baseline function. Think about that. You're not exercising, you're not stressed in the moment, you're asleep or at rest, and your heart still has a job to do. If resting heart rate trends upward, the body is compensating for something. Not panicking, compensating. Good morning, Teresa from Steuben, Maine. All right. And compensation is one of the most important concepts in understanding chronic health problems. Our body's compensating all the time. The body will adapt quietly for a long time before it fails loudly. Think about it. Your body, how many times have you seen people, they just push and push and push, and all of a sudden the body just quits? Oh, too late, they just had a heart attack. Okay. I'm a firm believer that if you ignore your body long enough, the universe will come around and take you off the playing field and bench you. And you get benched because of how you've been ignoring the health of your body. You get benched because you're not managing stress. You get benched because you're not paying attention to the things that are important in life. The universe is going to say, and it's benched me many times in my life, it's going to say, oh, you're not paying attention, off the field. And it will take you out. Now, hopefully, it doesn't take you out to the point where you're completely out of the game, and that means you had a heart attack that you didn't come back from. Or you picked up some kind of well, I don't like to use words like cancer and all that, but you got something and you couldn't come back from it. Okay. Your body will compensate for so long before it's going to say enough, and the universe will take you off the playing field. So here's the deal. A rising resting heart rate can signal that inflammation is increasing, that your sleep debt is accumulating, illness is brewing, immune activation is underway, hormonal strain, dehydration, overtraining, emotional stress, toxin load, blood sugar instability. It's not one thing. It's a stress index. It's a reflection of how much background work your system is carrying. And this is where wearables shine, okay? They reveal trends, not moments. Anyone can have a bad day, I get that. But when your resting heart rate creeps upward over weeks, your body is waving a flag. It's saying, I am working harder than I should to maintain equilibrium. Okay? Now, my recovery rate, my resting heart rate, before I switched my food to where it's at, was above 65. It was 65, 66 when I slept and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm down to 55. Okay. When I made a change in my lifestyle again. And here's what's fascinating. Most people don't feel this immediately. They normalize it. They adjust their expectations downward. Think about that. They think, I'm just tired lately. Again, I must be getting older, which is bullshit. Or this is normal. How many times? I used to say that. I used to use those excuses. This is normal. I'm tired every day. This is normal. I must just be getting older. I've got all these aches and pains. It's because I'm getting older. Bullshit. It's not normal. And here's my story. I explained this to somebody yesterday. When you start getting older, you have one of two paths that you can go down. Okay. And you have to decide what your motivation is to go down each one. Now, if you want to go down the path that leads you into healthy older years where you have your mental faculties, your physical faculties, all of that, and you're doing just fine, then you have to start today to get your health back on track. And the challenge is having the awareness of then you have to keep it on track. And you'll go into your sunset years nice and healthy. The other track is if you don't do anything to start today, it's never too late to start today to get your body back into balance, get the health back. Then at some point, somebody's going to put you in assisted living. And at some point, someone in assisted living is going to help you toilet and have to wipe your ass for you. So you choose what you want your older years to look like. And of course, there's no guarantees. I recognize that I could choose path A, door number one, to be healthy and have a successful older years and all that. I understand that I could do all the right things and still die tomorrow. But at least if I die tomorrow, I know I was happy, I was strong, I was doing all the right things. What that means to me is God said, Jeff, I need you home. Calling you home right now. Okay. So the data shows what the cost of that normalization is. Your system is burning extra fuel. And when the body runs hot long enough, burnout is going to follow. Not just emotional burnout, but you're going to get physiological burnout. You're going to have adrenal fatigue patterns, chronic inflammation, metabolic slowdowns, weakened immunity, cognitive fog. The brain fog moves in. The resting heart rate is like watching engine RPMs while the car is idling. If the engine is revving high at a stoplight, something is off. You don't ignore it, you investigate. And again, the mistake people make is trying to force that number down. Breathing tricks, cold plunges, supplements stacked blindly. Those can help, but only if you address the reason the workload increased. The number is not the problem. The number is the clue. When resting heart rate improves naturally, it means inflammation is decreasing, recovery is improving, the nervous system is stabilizing, and energy production is more efficient. The body's no longer fighting to maintain baseline. It has margin again, and margin is health. Margin is the difference between surviving and thriving, which brings us to another signal that often predicts illness before symptoms appear, and that's the body temperature deviation. We'll do that next. Um, but there was a point I wanted to make here. Let's see. Well, it must not be important. Um, yeah, you can try all the tricks in the books. You can look for now I remember, you can look for the shortcuts to get you there. But folks, these things didn't appear suddenly overnight. Okay. And to unwind the shit that you've walked your body through for your whole life is going to take some time. It does not happen overnight. You have to take time to unwind the things so your body can repair and rebuild. The body's very intelligent. God gave us that gift. It knows how to rebuild itself. You have to give yourself the gift of grace and allow yourself the time you need to unwind all of the things that got you there. And that's how it folks, I'm telling you, it helps to work with a holistic lifestyle coach, who's someone who can be there to coach you and teach you and mentor you and guide you to get through back on track. Okay. All right. So where does the temperature come in? Teresa says she loves her Oura Ring and Apple Watch. Yeah, they're great. What a great pairing. It is a good pairing. That's why I like to pair the Oura Ring with my Garmin watch. So temperature can be the early warning signal. We always hear of temperature. Women, when they monitor their temperature, they know if they're getting ready to ovulate and all that kind of stuff. Those are important metrics to know. But body temperature is one of the oldest vital signs in medicine. Okay. But wearable technology changed how we look at it. Thank you, Teresa. Your holistic doc has been a huge help with my life. All right. But wearable technology changes how we look at it. We used to treat temperature as a snapshot. You feel sick, you take your temperature, you look for a fever. That's reactive. Okay. Wearables measure temperature as a trend. And trends tell stories long before the symptoms show up. And your body temperature is tightly regulated for a reason. It reflects metabolic activity, immune activity, and hormonal signaling. Even small deviations matter in that, not dramatic fever spikes. Okay. Subtle shifts, fractions of a degree. That's where the intelligence lives. When your nightly temperature trends upward, it often means the immune system is activating. Not necessarily illness yet, activation. And when that happens, the body is responding to something. Could be inflammation, it could be an infection, environmental stress, hormonal fluctuation, toxin exposure. It's preparing. And most of the time, you don't consciously feel that preparation taking place. You just wake up thinking, I feel a little off. Temperature data lets you see the off before it becomes obvious. And that's a powerful thing because the body rarely surprises you. It signals quietly, gradually, predictably. We just weren't equipped to see those signals before. And here's the deeper layer. Temperature isn't just about sickness. It's about metabolic rhythm. A stable temperature pattern reflects a stable internal environment. And when temperature swings frequently, it often correlates with blood sugar instability, hormonal stress, poor detox capacity, chronic inflammation, sleep disruption. The body is working harder to regulate itself. And regulation requires energy. Energy diverted towards stabilization is energy not available for repair. Again, this is about allocation. So, where is your physiology spending its resources? Temperature trends answer that question. And here's where interpretation matters. People see a deviation and panic, okay? But temperature is not a verdict, it's a forecast. And a forecast gives you a chance to respond early. Rest more, hydrate better, reduce the inflammatory load, support the immune system, slow down instead of pushing harder. The wearable becomes a conversation with your biology, not a diagnosis, a conversation. And when you learn to respond to early signals, you can prevent escalation. Most chronic illness is not sudden. As I said, it's ignored whispers stacked up over time. Temperature tracking turns those whispers into visible data. Which brings us to the composite metric many devices calculate, the one that tries to summarize all of these signals into a single message. And that number is readiness. Okay, so readiness is permission, not pressure. Okay, most wearable devices try to summarize your biology into one headline number: a readiness score, a recovery score, a strain balance, a daily status. Different brand names, same idea. Okay, how prepared is your body to handle stress today? And people immediately turn that into a performance challenge. High score, I should push. Low score, I'm failing. Folks, that's the wrong interpretation. Readiness is not a judgment, it's permission. It's your body's way of negotiating with you. It's saying, here's what I have available today, not what you should prove. It's what you can sustainably spend. And every day, your body operates on a recovery budget, sleep deposits, nutrition deposits, emotional deposits, movement deposits, rest deposits, stress withdraws, work stress. Oh, the stress withdraws. So the recovery budget was sleep, nutrition, emotional, movement, rest deposits. Okay. Now stress withdraws, which would be work stress, inflammatory stress, toxic stress, mental stress, immune stress. And when those withdrawals exceed deposits long enough, the system tightens up. That tightening shows up as lower HRV, higher resting heart rate, temperature deviation, fragmented sleep, and poor readiness. Not as punishment, but as protection. Your biology is conserving. It's saying, I need margin here. And the healthiest people are not the ones with perfect scores. They're the ones who respond intelligently to the fluctuations. They adjust. Push days exist. Recovery days exist. The problem is modern culture glorifies push days. We celebrate the grind, but we ignore the restoration. And when we wonder why burnout feels inevitable, wearable data is teaching a forgotten rhythm. Stress and recovery must alternate. That's how adaptation happens. That's how athletes get stronger. That's how the nervous system stabilizes. That's how hormones rebalance. That's how inflammation resolves. Adaptation requires oscillation. You cannot live in expansion forever. You must return to restoration. Readiness scores are reminders of rhythm, not commands. But when interpreted correctly, they don't limit you. They protect you from self-sabotage disguised as discipline. And this is where the philosophical piece matters. A device cannot feel your life. It cannot measure purpose. It cannot measure joy. It cannot measure meaning. It only measures load. You still bring intuition to the conversation. The healthiest relationship with biometrics is a partnership. Data plus awareness. Science plus self-knowledge. The device is a mirror. It reflects patterns, but you decide how to respond. And when you combine wearable insight with root cause healing, you stop chasing symptoms and you start managing energy. You start protecting capacity and you start living in rhythm instead of reaction. That is where real readiness looks like. Not a number, but a system that has margin. Okay. So, in closing, the mirror and the root. Okay. So, if you step back and look at everything we talked about today, sleep, HRV, resting heart rate, temperature, and readiness, none of these numbers exist to impress you. They exist to inform you. They are signals from a system that is constantly trying to survive, adapt, and repair. Your body is not fragile. It is intelligent. It is dynamic. It is always negotiating with the environment you place it in. Okay. And what wearable technology has done is give us a window into that negotiation. For the first time, people can see the cost of their lifestyle in real time. Not years later, not after diagnosis, not after collapse, right now. That's an opportunity. But it's only an opportunity if you understand the difference between tracking and healing. Tracking reveals patterns. Healing resolves causes. Okay? A device can tell you that recovery is poor. It cannot tell you why inflammation is high. It can show nervous system strain, but it cannot remove the burden stressing the system. It can highlight sleep fragmentation, but it cannot repair the biological terrain interfering with restoration. And that's where real health work begins. Not with the number, but with the question behind the number. What is my body trying to compensate for? Because symptoms are not random. Fatigue is not random. Poor sleep is not random. Stress overload is not random. Inflammation is not random. They are adaptive responses to an environment that needs correction. And when you approach biometrics as clues instead of grades, then you stop judging yourself and you start investing or investigating your physiology. That's empowerment. It's not dependency on technology, it's fluency in your own biology. And that's the heart of what I do. I don't treat scores. I help people understand the root patterns underneath the signals. Why the system is overloaded, why recovery is compromised, why inflammation is persistent, why energy production is failing. When you fix the terrain, the numbers follow, not the other way around. Health is not built by hacking metrics. It's built by restoring systems. And when the systems are restored, Sleep improves naturally. HRV rises naturally. Resting heart rate settles. Temperature stabilizes. Readiness returns. Not because you forced it, because the body no longer has to fight. That's real healing. And the most powerful part of all of this is simple. Your body is not working against you. It's working for you. Every signal is communication. Every fluctuation is feedback. And when you learn to listen instead of panic, you turn data into wisdom. That's the shift. That's the work. And that's where real health begins. So thanks for spending the morning with me, and take care of your body. Okay. Listen to what it's telling you. But I'm going to close with this. If today's episode hit home for you, if you're someone tracking your sleep, watching your stress, staring at numbers every morning and wondering why you still don't feel right, that's exactly where I come in. These devices are showing you signals, but signals without interpretation keep people stuck in loops. You don't need more hacks, you need clarity. You need to understand why your body is carrying the load it's carrying, why recovery isn't happening, why inflammation isn't resolving, why energy isn't returning. That's the work I do with people every day. We don't chase symptoms, we don't guess. We assess the system, find the interference, and remove what's blocking repair. When the terrain changes, the metrics change naturally. So if you're tired of tracking and not improving, if you're ready to move from data to direction, I invite you to start a conversation with me. Schedule an assessment. Go to my webpage, evensonholistic.com, and right on the top page is a promo code to give you a discount on the assessment. It'll save you some money. But that's always the starting point for all of my new clients. I don't just look at somebody and say, okay, I'm going to start here. I start everybody through an assessment so we can put together a game plan on what is going on in your body. Okay. Let's look under the hood instead of staring at the dashboard. You don't have to live guessing about your health. And you don't have to fight your body to feel better. Your system wants to heal. Sometimes it just needs the obstacles removed, and I'd be honored to help guide that process. Okay, so I'm going to put my website link in here in the comments. Hopefully it goes in there. Okay, yep. And right in the middle of the webpage, excuse me, is a link that says "Start Your Journey." Okay, but remember the promo code. It's on the top of the main page. And when you're ready, we will start. Okay. So let's close with a prayer. Father, thank you for the incredible design of the human body, for the intelligence woven into every cell, every system, every signal that keeps us alive and adapting moment by moment. Help us to slow down enough to listen, not just to the noise around us, but to the quiet messages within us. Teach us to see our bodies not as enemies to fight, but as partners in the life you've given us. When we feel tired, help us seek restoration instead of shame. When we feel stressed, guide us toward wisdom instead of fear. When we see signs that something is off, give us courage to investigate instead of ignore. Remind us that healing is not punishment, it is invitation, an invitation to return to balance, to stewardship, to respect for the gift of life you placed in our care. Grant us clarity where there is confusion, patience where there is frustration, and humility to ask for help when we need guidance. Bless everyone listening today, strengthen their bodies, calm their minds, restore their energy, and draw them closer to the peace that comes from living in alignment with your design. We trust that the body you created wants to heal. Help us cooperate with that healing instead of resisting it. And let everything we do with our health become an act of gratitude for the life you've given us. Amen. So that's it for the show today, folks. I really appreciate you listening. Um, Let me know if you got something out of this topic. Hopefully you did. Throw it in the comments. I would appreciate it. And today was episode 85. I can't believe that I've done this for 85 Saturdays. Okay. A couple Sundays here and there, but mostly Saturdays. And I have fun doing the show. And if there's something that you would like me to talk about specifically, throw it in the comments too. You're welcome, Darla. And because I can, I make these shows up on the fly sometimes based on what I see during the week and what comes up. But I can certainly get topic specific if there is a request. So I will talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.